Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're driving the 2024 Lexus RX450h Plus. This is a proper hybrid because you can drive it in full EV mode up to 37 miles or so. And I love this nori green pearl metallic that we have here. I think it's a fantastic color. So let's have a look at what's going on underneath the hood of this thing and what's powering it. So we do have two electric motors in the front end, and we have one in the rear. And what that means is you can drive this in EV mode and you still have the all-wheel drive setup. Total power output comes out to 304 horsepower and 367 pound-feet of torque. You also, of course, have the 2.5 liter inline 4 underneath there. Let's have a look at the trunk space as well before we jump in and take this for a drive. The design of this, I think Lexus does a pretty interesting way of designing their cars. Some might say that they're a little over stylized with a lot of lines going on all over this car, which I totally agree with, but for some reason it works. So back here you do have these two buttons here to power fold the rear seats. So if you want more space, all you got to do is just use these buttons right here and you can fold the seats back and forth. That's pretty much it for the rear. There's a lot of space back here. You do have a first aid kit. There's not a lot of space underneath here though. You do have the power cable, charging cable right there. Let's see if we can fold this back. There we go. It's also, of course, power assisted tailgate. So let's close that back up. The rear end design, I think, is beautiful with this blade design, big, thick, juicy LED here that goes into a more thinner piece in the middle. Lexus logo up top, black housing for everything. We do have some fake vents down here. 21-inch wheels, 235mm wide tires all around. The front end also looks great with the refresh. As I said, the refresh a couple of years ago just made it feel more grown up in my opinion. Also added some personality to this car with this huge hood line that goes into this almost forehead here. Do love the new spindle design that we have with some patterns fading into the complete openings down here in the grille. Beautifully done. Some fake vents here as well, but we do have a functional fog light down there. This one is equipped, we're gonna have a look at the sticker in a minute, with the full LED headlights. So we have three main units for the LED and still the Lexus L-shape razor LED that we have down here. This is actually not part of the headlight. This is just a black piece that sits by itself on the side. So overall, the exterior design, I think, is a beautiful design, even though some might call it a little over stylized. But in my opinion, I think it works in this case. So having a look at the interior here, beautiful interior by Lexus. We do have a 7-inch gauge cluster that is digital. So it's not a 12.3-inch. We're gonna have a look at that in a minute. 14-inch gauge cluster right there. The back seats, a lot of room back here. Surprisingly roomy, to be honest. I'm 6'1". If I jump in behind my own driving position here, you can see just how much space I have, and I also have a lot of headspace. We have the panoramic roof in this specific car, 3 climate zones, 2 for the front and 1 for the rear. Heated and ventilated seats back here as well, in addition to 2 USB-Cs. We have this button on the side of the seat, so if you push this, you can actually recline the entire seat backwards, and this creates a super comfortable place here. We can just chill out for a very long time without getting tired. You can also adjust the front passenger seat with these buttons on the sides. Holding down the center armrest, you are going to find 2 cup holders right here and some additional storage. So with that said, let's take this 2024 RX450h Plus for a drive and let's see what this is all about. Let's first of all have a look at this beautiful nori green in the sunshine. Have a look at how beautiful this is. I love this color, and with the pearl and metallic in it, just creates a very unique combination. So let's also, by the way, we can check out the sticker here and see what type of options we have. In this case, we have a 2024 RX450h luxury all-wheel drive. Base price is $68,730. This one, as with all these options, as you can see here, comes out to $76,305 And if you want to pause this and check out the options, you can do that right here. With that said, let's go ahead, take this for a drive. What I love about this setup in here is the integration. We have a 14-inch screen, which is not a small screen at all. Specifically not when you have a such an organic overall design for the entire car. Integrating a 14-inch screen is not an easy thing to do, but I do think Lexus has done a great job doing that in this case. This doesn't feel too big, which is crazy to say of a 14-inch screen. So well done, the interior designers of Lexus. And the gauge cluster here is not the full 12.3 inch that we get in newer Lexus models, but I still think this works. We have the 7-inch right in the middle. We also have a head-up display up front, and the fuel gauge on the side and the EV range on both sides are analog. They're just static. They're not part of the display itself. Not a big deal to me personally at all. So let's start in EV mode here. We have these buttons here on the side. This is where you choose if you want full EV, or if you want a hybrid setup, or if you really want to have the internal combustion engine pop in, you can do that here. So let's go into EV mode and just cruise a little bit. We have 9 miles left for the EV range, but it keeps charging when the internal combustion engine pops in. One detail in the drivetrain that I would like to switch up here is, in this case, for the hybrid, we have a CVT gearbox, and I'm not a fan at all of CVT gearboxes, because it feels like the car is just revving and revving and revving, and it's consuming, it feels like it's consuming so much fuel. This comes with 36 mpg city, 33 highway, so the total range for this is 540 miles with both the EV range and the internal combustion fuel range. So the range is fantastic, and this is definitely one of these cars that you can just drive forever, because Lexus, in addition to Mercedes, they are the two brands that just makes their cars. I mean, just listen how quiet it is in here. It's so comfortable and it's so smooth. We're now in EV range. The cool thing about the EV mode is that even if you step on it like this, the internal combustion engine is not gonna pop in unless you want to. If you want to have it in hybrid, we can go into hybrid, and now you can see that the rev tachometer kicks in, and we now have the advantage of the power from the internal combustion engine as well. I like to keep it in the hybrid mode because the car seems to know best what mode to keep you in, to just keep charging the battery and also have sufficient power when you need it. These seats, some of the most comfortable seats in a car today. I love the suede on the side. They're also heated and ventilated, just like they are in the back seat as well. You have heated steering wheel, infotainment screen. If you want to change the drive mode, you do that in the software, so you can't do it with a button. Lexus decided to put that in the software itself. So now we're in sport. You can go into normal. You can see that it changes up the design of the gauge cluster just a little bit. Eco, probably the best if you go in on a long road trip. Let's just keep it in normal for now. I think that's the best one for the moment. Further down, you do have these interesting vents that are split by this trim piece in the middle. Very interesting design, and I think I've never seen a design like this before, but when you change it, when you adjust it, it adjusts both the top and the lower section as well. This is probably one of the most relaxing SUVs I've ever driven. It's so quiet and so comfortable in here. It's not a, it is still pretty quick. 0 to 60 in 6.2 seconds. Not bad at all. Personally, for $76,000, I would probably go with the Lexus RX450h F Sport, because the F Sport gives you a completely different setup for the suspension. It's more dialed to a sportier driving experience, and the F Sport package in itself just gives you a different design on the exterior. You get a lot more blacked out pieces, which I think looks great F Sport tend to always just look better than any other Lexus spec, in my opinion. This one being the luxury one, you don't have the F Sport suspension. It's more dialed towards this, just cruising long distances on the highway, and that it does very, very well. I really like this design of the steering wheel because we do have, looks to be some, it feels almost like some wood texture right here and in the bottom of the top part. Very comfortable. We do have the paddles here, which I'm not sure why they are here in this car because of the CVT gearbox. They don't really they don't add anything to the driving experience. This is not a car that I would ever have in a manual mode of any sort. But if you want to try that out, you can always put it into sport mode, and now you can use the paddles here. You can see that it shifts on the gauge cluster there, but as I said, it doesn't really have gears, so it doesn't make sense to me. Thankfully, Lexus decided to keep at least a couple of dials physical here. I love this setup that we have for it's just a beautiful little integration of a small screen inside of the dial. Super easy to just reach and change the temperature whenever you want to. That you don't have to go in and fiddle around with the software just to change the temperature. All you gotta do is just turn this dial and that's it. You also have another dial, which is for the volume, as you can see. Further down here, you do have a small little compartment where you have, actually it's not that small, it's pretty big. You have the wireless charger down there, a couple of USB ports and more USB ports right here with another shelf up above this slider. This is one of these cars that I could drive. I wouldn't, if someone told me that I have to go back to Florida to pick something up that I forgot in the move, I would definitely not complain about driving this car all the way to Florida. It would be so comfortable all the way down there, no problems at all. My final opinion on this car is that it is, oh, that's nice, E39 5 Series there, beautiful. 540, probably not a manual. I hope it is, but those are very rare. Anyway, my final verdict on this car is that it's a fantastic car for longer drives. If you want an RX and you're doing a long commute every day, for example, this is the one I would pick. But for me personally, as I said, in this price range, about $75,000, I would go for, if I was buying an RX, I would go for the RX F500H, which you do get a little bit more power, 366 horsepower, and this one is 304. It's a little bit quicker, 0 to 60, 5.9 seconds, but that doesn't really matter. What really matters for me, why I would choose that, is first of all the F Sport package, the different suspension. You do also get a 6-speed automatic, which is a huge deal for me. I definitely prefer to have a traditional gearbox instead of the CVT. And the third reason is that the optics, the blacked out package that you get with the F Sport. So for those reasons, personally, I'll go for 500H F Sport. But still, as I said, if you're going long road trips and long distances, this is the RX that you want to get.